Welcome back. In this final lecture on nuclear fission, we will revisit some of the points which we have covered in the last few lectures and add few more points. So the central observations are the following. Typically, nuclear fusion produces fragments or products of different masses to conserve momentum. um, the kinetic energy of different products are different. And importantly, for every single U-235 fission via a thermal neutron, 2.41 neutrons are generated. This is very important when we think about the chain reactions, uh, which we will cover when we cover nuclear reactors. So there are many gamma photons are also emitted, and the cross section has a distinct feature. As the cross section, as the kinetic energy of the neutron increases, the cross section decreases. Here, the V refers to the velocity of the neutron. So the cross section is very high when you have thermal neutrons and subsequently decreases. So odd numbered nuclei are more fissile because of pairing energy. Some fission products, like what is mentioned here, they themselves can emit neutrons. Let's move on. There are certain neutrons that are emitted after some time. They are called the delayed neutrons. Supposing you have thermal neutron induced fission of these nuclei, you see that there are different neutrons that are emitted, and each of those isotopes have certain half-life, and the percentage also varies. But what is important is there is a significant fraction of the delayed neutrons. And the kinetic energy of the delayed neutron is much, much more than the kinetic energy of thermal neutrons. If you remember, the thermal neutrons' energy are of the order of 0.025 eV. So the delayed neutrons have much higher kinetic energy. We will see that this is one of the reasons why we have moderators in nuclear reactors to slow down and decrease the kinetic energy. So typically, when we study nuclear fission, we want to understand what are the different products that are formed, what is the yield of each of the product, what are the emissions which are typically neutron or gamma emissions, what is the cross section involved in the nuclear fission reaction. So here is a distinct feature. So on the y-axis, we have the fission yield. On the x-axis, we have the different mass numbers that are generated from via fission. So, so a range of products is typically generated. So, when you have, let's say, U-235, that is the more fissile isotope of uranium. So even with thermal neutrons, you have nuclear fission, and this is a distinct feature. Okay, this is a very characteristic feature. You have like this shape is very characteristic of thermal neutron induced fission. And for U-238, which requires greater energy to um, overcome the activation barrier to generate the fragments of the fission, higher energies are required. So here 14 MeV neutron is utilized for initiating fission of U-238. Okay, so the symmetry is less, and this is a very different feature compared to thermal neutron fission and fission induced by high kinetic energy neutron. Many a times, the products of the fission reaction itself will undergo certain other nuclear transitions. So, for example, if you generate one of these fragments via U-235 nuclear fission, they undergo beta minus transition, a range of transition with a range of time scales, right? Half-life here is 1.6, half-life here is very large. Okay, so all these things can occur. So it is dependent on the fragment. Eventually, you end up with a stable nuclei. Okay, so these things, these chains are fairly complex. Okay, and it depends upon the fragment which is being considered. So it is also important to document, this is usually done when you are studying fission, what is the yield of different uh, products. Suppose this is an isobar. If you see, all these things have the same atomic mass, right? So you have 135, 135, 135, and so on. All these things have the same atomic mass, but the atomic number is different. So it's important to document what is the yield of each of these products. Okay, so that is referred to as the independent yield. So uh, so the independent yield is defined in this following manner: the number of antimony 135 that is formed by divided by total fission atoms. So that can the mass yield of 135 is also can be further analyzed by analyzing the different atomic number. So how do you do this? Experimentally, you document the activity of that particular species. This is the total number of atoms target. This is a cross section. This is the neutron flux. These have been defined in previous lectures. This is the decay constant for that particular system, right? For that particular radioactive decay constant. So if you can document AA of a particular species, you can get to the yield. From that, you can figure out these quantities. So you can also induce fission via high kinetic energy alpha particles. In this case, things occur, the product formation is slightly different. So as soon as there's a collision between high kinetic energy alpha particle and, let's say, for example, thorium, you may form an excited nucleus which may undergo fission. Such a fission process is called first chance fission. Uh, Sometimes what happens is there is a de-excitation process via a neutron emission. You form an isotope of uranium, which is which has one less atomic mass. Again, this is an excited state. You may have fission from this nucleus, or you may have further de-excitation via neutron emission. You will form this nuclei, and you may have fission from this nuclei. So these are this kind of first chance, second chance, and third chance fission is typical of alpha particle or charged particle. It may be a proton, it may be an alpha particle colliding with the nucleus, leading to fission. In the next lecture, with this, we have completed our series of lectures on nuclear fission. In the next lecture, we will have the single lecture on nuclear fusion. Thank you.